Good morning. Welcome to the Long Live Alternative Parties podcast. Free Press Media Press Inc., an alternative parties books publisher, sponsors this podcast. I'm Andrew Bouchard. Welcome to Long Live Alternative Parties podcast. Today, friends, we have another individual from the South Carolina Libertarian Party. It sounds like they're doing a lot of exciting things in South Carolina. And his name is Joe. His last name is Jernigan, and he is running for State House District 111. Is that correct, Joe?
Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. So if we could get started by you kindly giving us an introduction to yourself, a brief biographical sketch.
Sure. My name is Joe Jernigan. I'm 27 years old. I was born and raised in the Tri-County area around Charleston. Essentially, I'm a product of the Ron Paul Revolution. I got into politics and socioeconomics at a very early age, and since then, I've been passionate about those subjects, and I've been studying them for a long time, and now I feel I'm in a position to where I can run to represent the people of District 111 in the State House in South Carolina to try to pass legislation in keeping with libertarian principles that will improve the qualities of life for everybody in the state.
Excellent. So District 111, since we're not everyone's from South Carolina, even people who are probably don't know all the districts by heart. So if you could please tell us the demographics of that district, we'd appreciate it.
Sure. So District 111, State House District 111 is going to be lower North Charleston, upper downtown Charleston, and parts of West Ashley. You have it pretty mixed demographic. The income area compared to lower downtown Charleston is, a little bit less. You have a good mix of Democrats and Republicans. So, that's the general demographics for the district.
Okay. So how about population? Is it a rural or urban area?
Oh, it's definitely urban. Yeah, it's all city area. So, no rural to my district.
Okay. Sounds good. So what attracted you to this office in particular? So how do you feel like you can make a difference with the Libertarian Party message in this particular office versus other offices?
Well, essentially, when it comes to, getting the libertarian message out there, we've been up and coming for a long time, so there's many different things we could do to be beneficial, such as, going on city council or going on school boards.
Sure.
I have no problem with any of those methods. And naturally, you would assume that someone would go up the ranks like that. But quite honestly, as somebody who's 27 years old, and I've seen, the decline of, our country and our state in many different ways, I genuinely don't feel like that we have the time to wait for the big and bold solutions that we need to save our state and America. So I was interested in the State House of Representatives because I know that Democrat Wendell Gilliard has been in that seat since 2008 or 9. And at the state level, unfortunately, due to establishment Republicans and Democrats working together, we have not gotten the governance that we deserve. So
Sure.
Not only to push back against the Democrats, but to push back against the Republicans as well, I thought this would be a good seat to target for that if I could be elected to the position.
Sure. Would you care to tell us more about your opponent? Some of our guests don't like to talk about their opponents. Others are okay. So if you're okay, I'd like to hear more about him. Is that all right?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, you say he's a Democratic establishment candidate since 2008, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And what else about him makes him stand out?
So basically, Wendell Gilliard is a Democrat. He's been in the state house for a long time.
Okay.
He's a good community leader, but on the state level, like I said, he hasn't been pushing for the things that would make us most prosperous. He introduced a bill to ban assault weapons in South Carolina. That's an infringement upon the Second Amendment and does not improve gun safety. He voted to raise the minimum wage. Again, that doesn't help lower income people. All that does is introduce Marxism into the market, which actually harms poor people more than others. He voted against the minor trans surgery ban that we just got passed in South Carolina, which is an infringement upon the protection of life. So there's many different areas where Mr. Gilliard goes pretty much lockstep with the federal Democrat Party in trying to implement what they view as solutions, but are not actually solutions.
Okay, sounds interesting. So you say you had a piece of legislation in your area about that would ban trans surgeries for minors. Did I hear correctly?
No, that was already passed in South Carolina, and he voted against it. That was what I was saying.
Okay, so he didn't want to ban trans surgeries for minors. Is that correct?
Correct. He wanted to allow medical practitioners in South Carolina to continue the predatory practice of transitioning minors with gender transition surgery.
Okay, so from what I understand, libertarians would be against this because they believe in order to consent to laws, individuals have to be above the age of consent. So is that your objection to it from the libertarian perspective?
Correct. That's my exact objection to it. It violates age of consent laws. If we're going to have an age of consent, it should be for all things that pertain to the alteration of one's body or something that can permanently affect their body, such as gender transition surgeries or hormone blockers.
Okay, sounds good. Sure, sounds good. So what other issues are you bringing to this race in your campaign?
Well, in my campaign specifically, I'm trying to talk about the stuff that pretty much everybody can agree on, that we can get past. One of those things is trying to increase affordable housing. You'll often hear people say that we need more government housing or more government subsidies for housing. Well, it actually turns out if we actually just ban minimum parking requirements, either at the local or state level, we could see a massive increase in the availability of affordable housing. If you look at Austin, Texas, or Minneapolis, Minnesota, where they got rid of these minimum parking requirements, they saw a direct decrease in the prices of rent. So stuff like that, occupational licensing. I'm going to be supporting a bill that's already in the legislature that would allow municipalities to use instant runoff voting rather than first past the post. This will save taxpayers costs by not having to have primary runoffs if their municipality elects to use this, and it will also force the people running within the municipality to appeal to a broader base of the electorate in order to get elected.
Okay. So in regards to the housing thing, that's interesting. So you were saying that, what's the minimum parking thing that you're talking about? I haven't heard about that before, pardon my ignorance.
So basically, minimum parking requirements are just regulations that require people who want to develop a property or alter a property to have a certain amount of minimum parking spaces for a certain type of property. So, for example, I went before the Charleston County Committee, and I advocated before them getting rid of these, at least for residential properties, so that developers and people who already own properties and just want to alter them can instantly offer people more affordable housing because they'll have the flexibility to not have to pay for all those parking spaces in that land when they're developing or altering.
Okay. And I would imagine if it's for affordable housing, poor people might be less likely to own cars, so then if they have to have so many cars there, then the poor people wouldn't be able to go there. Is that also part of the equation?
Right, exactly. And another thing that getting rid of minimum parking requirements helps with is it helps with traffic congestion, because if you on your residential property are not unnecessarily distanced from resources that you need via these parking requirements, then as you just said, perhaps you don't need a car and you can get around more easily and get to the resources that you need to get to.
Sure. Sounds good. Sounds good. I'm in Austin, Texas, and I didn't know that we did that here. So you're teaching me things about my own city.
I hear you.
So how are you getting your campaign message out? What is your campaign strategy for reaching the voters?
Basically, we are just on an all-hands-on approach. Like I was saying earlier, the South Carolina Libertarian Party has been up and coming for some time. We are going very strong, but we obviously don't have all the resources that Democrats and Republicans do.
Sure.
So it's very much an each for your own and get help when you can type of campaign. I'm doing everything I can to stay communicative to the voters and stay in front of the voters. This weekend, I plan on getting on the ground again, going to neighborhoods, going up to people, discussing the issues important to them. I go to as many local events as I can. I just went to the North Charleston Farmers Market not too long ago. I missed the mayor, unfortunately, but I will be trying to get in contact with him again soon, as well as Charleston's mayor, Mr. Cogswell. So really just a free-for-all, hands-on approach.
Okay. So when you're communicating with these people, what have they been telling you? What are their new concerns that they're bringing to your campaign?
Honestly, a lot of it has been the cost of living. There's a lot of different things that negatively affect our cost of living here in South Carolina. Federal monetary policy is one of them, but South Carolina also has the highest top income tax rate in the Southeast. That makes it very difficult for people to retain more of their earnings and, afford the things that they need to in life because taxes are so high.
Okay, so you see taxes from an economic perspective as being inhibiting economic growth.
Yeah, exactly. It does inherently, and it also increases the cost of living.
Okay, sounds good. So when you get into office, how would you pass new legislation to lower the cost of living, like we talked about with the parking thing, or is more of a defensive thing as preventing certain bills from passing?
Well, I plan on being I don't know how you would say this more properly, a progressive legislator. I'm not going to be seeking to go in there and find every single thing that's wrong. I'm seeking to bring new legislation that will improve the qualities of life for people. I think the income tax rate cuts that we're having right now, 0.1% per year, I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I think that we should be cutting 0.3% or 0.5% per year until we get to a top rate of 4.5%. As you said, we can also work to ban the minimum parking requirements, and that will help with the cost of rents and mortgages. There's crony capitalist spending within the South Carolina legislature that if we stopped that, cut that spending so that we can cut taxes more, it would help with the cost of living, such as the deal with Scout Motors. Those are things, and unfortunately, where Republicans are being hypocritical and they're using the taxpayers' dollars to quote-unquote plan the economy with crony capitalist ventures. So there's several different things we have to do to get the cost of living down, but those are just a few of the places that you can start.
Okay, sounds good. Earlier you were talking about the Second Amendment, and you were suggesting that if we pass laws against assault rifles and the like, that would be violating the Constitution. So it makes me wonder, do you consider yourself a constitutionalist in general?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, 110%. I view the Constitution and the Bill of Rights as the best legal guarantors of the equal protection of rights in the history of mankind. I believe that if we did not have those, we would be in a seriously, seriously bad position today, maybe looking like Canada. I believe that if we rely on the Constitution and we follow the Constitution, which is libertarian in its nature, we can actually come to the place in America and in South Carolina where we need to come to for people to be most prosperous and have the most liberty.
Okay, so you see the Constitution in general as libertarian-esque?
Yes, very much so.
Oh, good. Good perspective then. How about the South Carolina Constitution? Do you find that in alignment with the U.S. Constitution, or has it deviated from it?
I will be honest, I haven't studied the South Carolina Constitution as hard as I have the federal Constitution. I have briefly over it for different, areas of study such as property taxes. I don't believe that there is a big issue with the South Carolina Constitution. I do know there are a couple provisions in there. I believe with how judges are selected and how the budget is formed and sent to the governor. So those are a couple of areas that, I could delve into deeper and see if there's any changes to the South Carolina Constitution that could benefit us. Okay,
sounds good. So for this race, are you conducting a campaign all by yourself, or are you having volunteers or paid staff helping you out?
No, I'm not doing it all by myself. A lot of the work is by myself right now, but I have people working on me for the website, working with me for the campaigning materials that I go to take with me when I talk to people. I just recently, this past weekend, went up to Washington, D.C. to the Libertarian National Convention to campaign there. So I made some contacts there as well, and we'll be doing some more stuff here over the summer.
Sounds good. So for people who've never been to a party convention, would you recommend going to that like you did this year?
Oh yeah, 110%. I wasn't able to purchase tickets to go because I had just, the previous week, or a couple weeks ago rather, paid for oral surgery, or else I would have bought one of those. But I just was a free guest. So a lot of these different political events or whatever, if you actually look at it or you call the event people, you don't have to pay for them. So if somebody is interested in politics or getting involved, I would very, very strongly encourage them to get involved with party events such as conventions so they can be more informed and they can push for the legislation or changes that they feel like would benefit them most.
Sounds good. As I recall from interviewing your fellow South Carolina Libertarian candidates, you already have ballot access, so that's something you don't have to worry about in this campaign.
Yes, thankfully, yep.
Oh, that's good. So you don't have to worry about that, so you can, like they say, focus on the election itself.
Yes, correct. For the Libertarian Party in South Carolina, we nominate our candidates through the nominating convention. So I don't have a primary, and I will be the official Libertarian candidate for the South Carolina State House of Representatives, District 11 this year.
All right. So for people who want to run for office like you, would you have any tips for them because you got motivated and you took the step to do it, would you have any tips for them so if they want to run for office like you?
A couple of tips that I would probably give. I would say if you have even if you don't, if you have a friend base or a family base, try to gather those people and inform them of your campaign before you start running so that they can help you with some of the upcoming costs.
Sure.
And when it comes to the workload, you need to be ready to work. If you are not ready to work or have your mind on your campaign in some way every single day, even if just for 10 or 30 minutes, it's going to be very difficult for you to make it, especially if you're in an alternative party rather than the Democrats or Republicans. Because as I was saying earlier, they have all the resources in the world. They have these teams, they have these systems that have been set up for decades that they can just plug campaigns and people into and help them out. Alternative parties sometimes, but often don't have that. So if you're going to run for office, you should absolutely do it. It's worth it, but be ready to work.
Sounds like wise advice. So Joe, how can our audience support you in your campaign?
Well, I appreciate that very much. You guys can support me in a variety of ways. Visit my social media accounts, see if there's anything that resonates with you. If you could share it as a post or anything like that, that would be excellent. Of course, I'm always open to donations. I really appreciate it. There are certain limitations and rules that you can read about. It's fine on the donation page, so I would appreciate that. But any way that you can just spread the word about my campaign so that we can get over the finish line and help the people of South Carolina. There's no Republican running in my race. It's only me versus a Democrat. So if you care about freedom and limited government and being able to prosper to your best ability, support me by sharing any of my content or donating. You can contact me anytime as well if you have any questions for me.
All right. Sounds like a plan. So Joe, thank you for coming on the podcast today and talking about your campaign.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
We wish you all the best in your campaign and everything else you do in your personal and professional life.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. You as well.
All right. Take care and all the best.